Given that the stimulus package is running out of steam in China, given that the banks are being squeezed on lending, what we've seen about the Chinese government saying they want to rebalance, how successful do you think they've been so far?
Very poorly, actually. So the rebalancing actually hasn't been addressed at all. In fact, I think a lot of people are talking about the currency war and the currency adjustment, and I think they are just backing up the wrong tree and totally missing the point.
But the Chinese have said that they do want to rebalance the economy. So they're not making any attempt to? Is this just wallpaper?
Well, I believe that actually is almost in everybody's interest, and particularly in the Chinese, actually, to want to rebalance. The main problem is that to rebalance to rebalance actually takes a lot more efforts than just changing the exchange rate. I mean, the fundamental problem for the Chinese is that the consumption is just too low.
And the consumption is too low because?
Well, very simply, that there's no social security, there's no health care, there's no university education, so people need to save a lot just to be able to make the ends meet.
But having said that, there is still obviously a very fast rising tide of middle class, wealthier Chinese, because many countries would argue if China appreciated the yen, it would actually boost the speed of that rebalancing because there would be more goods coming in, they would be cheaper to buy in China because the yuan would be stronger.
Possible, but the unfortunate thing is that if the exchange rate change, right, if the other countries that produce goods and services that the Chinese want to buy, especially middle class, then I believe that will happen. Unfortunately, I doubt the U.S. Factories are going to make T-shirts and shoes for the Chinese consumers.
But what about the white goods and the higher value added?
I believe that if there's something like a CNN English school, maybe that will work. But the unfortunate problem is that if the Chinese consumers are thinking that there will be significant confidence problems ahead or maybe economy fluctuation ahead because of the currency fluctuation, it may actually depress confidence.
It would actually be counterproductive, basically.
Probably be counterproductive.
Okay, I mentioned in the introduction that we're expecting the September trade numbers out tomorrow.
Yes.
The whisper number seems to be around about $18 billion trade surplus.
Yes.
Huge, isn't it?
Yes.
And putting China online for something like $200 billion trade surplus for the year, higher than 2009. This obviously will raise tensions.
Yes.
Do you expect action, though?
Well, the problem is that we don't know actually what kind of action can be taken. That's the really difficulty because most economists actually agree that changing the exchange rate, even though it's something pretty easy thing to do, but most economists actually probably believe that there's not going to have any result. In fact, the Chinese currency has appreciated a lot, and also the wage in China has doubled in the past 5 years, but the trade deficits seem to be with the U.S. seem to be keep on going
Interesting.
up.
You say it has appreciated a lot, but that's a relative term, I guess, because the common number seems to be it's about 20% undervalued still.
Yes.
Just before we wrap up, I just want to ask you, though, politically, would you expect China to let the yuan appreciate by another 2 or 3% before the G20 meeting in Seoul, just so they can take this issue off the table in time for the G20?
I hope they do.
You think they will? Do you think? Because they did it before at the Toronto G20.
I think they will probably try to make some gesture to really do something to please everyone, even though everybody seems to agree that this have no use. So, and even I think I talked to some U.S. economists and they actually believe that they will be of no use either.